Welcome to Trigger Talk, your place for everything first-person shooters like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and so much more. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by SammyBoiii. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm very excited for today's topic because this is close to home for both of us, so it's a bit of a throwback episode today, and I think it's fair to say we're both very keen to get stuck into it.
I'm so hyped. In this episode, we are talking about the Return of the King. We're talking about the rise of Battlefront 2. I think it's a good look at kind of the state of the gaming industry, and it gives us a little time to go back to our roots. If you don't know, Sammy and I met through the Star Wars Battlefront content creator community back in the Battlefront 2 days, and I got into podcasting with my brother as the Star Wars Battlefront podcast. So we've got a long history, and we're going to be talking a bit about that as well as what this could mean for the future. So let's jump in. This is quite fascinating. the whole string of events, and it does seem that there's this kind of like cyclical event that happens within gaming. It doesn't necessarily always happen with multiplayer shooters. Typically, it's like, oh man, there's this one like open world game, and it came out, but it had some controversy, and now everyone's going back to it and really enjoying it. Well, that basically happened with the prequels, and it happened with Battlefront 2, because that game launched to huge controversies. Whether it's earned or unearned is a much deeper topic, and one that Sammy and I could both talk about for hours. Can talk about all sides of that story
as well. I'm sure we've spent hours.
Oh, maybe hundreds of hours. Yeah. But Battlefront 2, Resurgence Day, and all of this happened. Let's go back to the beginning. All of a sudden, we saw this one for Battlefront 3, and which we've seen before. Like, nothing was crazy about that. But alongside this one for Battlefront 3 and this meme of, hey, make Battlefront 3, was this rise of like meme culture around Battlefront 2. Like, all of a sudden you're seeing Battlefront 2 memes, all of a sudden you're seeing so many people jumping back into the fray, and then there was this effort that I'm going to attribute a lot of it to Bombastic, our buddy Andrew, who like was leading the charge. He's one of the bigger Star Wars, he's just a general Star Wars YouTuber at this point, I would say. Very much connected to kind of meme culture, and then all of a sudden we're seeing Bombastic and the Kyber crew and all of this around this kind of Resurgence Day. So there's this intentional effort with a lot of people in the community looking at Battlefront and trying to say, hey, let's make some noise. Let's make sure that this is a big bang. Ended up breaking records. We had some people reach out to other people that reached out to other people that said, hey, yeah, these numbers are big. People that maybe worked at EA, maybe know somebody that worked at EA, we're saying this is close to the kind of like Celebration Day numbers, and huge across the board. And I just think it's so fascinating, the timing of this, because Battlefront 2 ended support in 2020. It came out in 2017. Battlefront 2015 came out in 2015. Like, this has been a while. And all of a sudden, we see some huge impact and huge rallying cries around the game. Like, what has been your perspective of this?
Well, mostly it's just been, like, joy to see all... Like, it's just such a fun time the last month or so, seeing all of this happen as a diehard of this game. It's one of my, not so much the game itself, but just the journey in the community is one of my favorite games ever, if not number one. And it's something that, you know, pretty much everyone I know from YouTube, including yourself, we all met through Battlefront, and we've all gone and sort of done our own thing. Luckily for you and me, we've sort of stuck together and moved into other areas like as a duo, and I've got plenty of other friends who've sort of done the same thing. But we all started from Battlefront, and so it's just been awesome seeing like everyone come back that I know from 5+ years ago, and seeing this community that has been starving for so long, and just the amount of time, in that 5-year period, just in my Discord, you'll just get the stray comment like, man, imagine if they made Battlefront 3 and stuff, and it just doesn't really like go anywhere. It's just like oh man, that'd be cool. We have a quick conversation about it as a community, and then like the next day we're not thinking about it. But the last month, it's been like daily people talking about Battlefront in my server and all over Twitter, and I'm obviously back making Battlefront content on the Star Wars channel, so then all the comments are talking about it. It's just like so much fun to have that community back, because it's like it's not quite, but it almost takes me back to my childhood. I wasn't a child when it came out, but in the sense of like YouTube, that was where the infancy of my content journey started. So that it takes me back to like the early days, and it's been so much fun. Just seeing not only everyone else having fun with it too, but just seeing the game, and even the developers. I've seen so many of them tweeting. Even just, I think yesterday, even CJ again tweeted saying like, "Oh, it's so awesome to see all of our hard work like being loved years later." It's just been a really heartwarming month, really. Like it's just So I'm stoked with it. I hope it keeps up. Like obviously it'll dip again, but it had that peak, and we thought it would dip, and it did, and now it's just doubled that. So like, it's kind of mad. I don't know how long it will last for, and I mean, I think so many people want a Battlefront 3 that like, that's why I want this to keep up. I think if these numbers, it's got a 24-hour peak of 30,000 concurrent players, which isn't any crazy numbers, but like
there are almost 27,000 people online right now playing it on Steam. And we know historically that is not the top platform for this game.
Those are decent numbers as it is. Like it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's like you look at that and go, oh, that's a decent amount of players for a game this old. But when you look at, for example, I've been playing it on PC. I'm not playing on Steam, so my numbers aren't counted. So many people are like that. So many people got it on Epic Games. Back in the day, you could only get it on EA Play or Origin, as it was back then. And so, like, 95% of the PC player base isn't on Steam. So the numbers are actually mad when you think about it like that. Plus, then, obviously, console player counts as well. Back in the day, it used to be like 90% of the player base was on console. Like the PC player base was tiny back then. So yeah, we've seen some crazy numbers for the game, and I just hope it keeps up, man, because I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, now I'm really confident we'll get a Battlefront 3. I still don't know, but I just think if we're ever going to, this will have been the catalyst to that. I think that someone is out there seeing these numbers and going, we have to make, whether it's Battlefront 3 or just a multiplayer Star Wars shooter. Like, there's a studio out there now, I can just about guarantee it, that have seen all of this and will be thinking like, all right, let's pitch something to Lucasfilm Games. So like in that sense, I'm just stoked with it. It's what we needed to hopefully get again, whether it's a Battlefront or just, I think we just desperately want a Star Wars shooter. Like, whether it is Battlefront, whether it's something, I don't know, something like a more of a Titanfall type of game, not so much like the wall running stuff, but just that type of something different. Yeah. Something, there was that Respawn shooter that obviously got cancelled, and apparently that was single player, but as an example, something like that was then turned into multiplayer or something. Like, I just think so many people want that, and really this is the number one way to get that, is us just constantly playing and showing that, like, hey guys, anyone out there listening, like, this game is breaking its own records 8 years after it launched. Clearly there's interest. Yeah. So someone go and make us a game and we'll give you a lot of money for it.
Yeah, and I think too, on that note, like, there's so many people that made Battlefront 2 what it was that aren't at DICE anymore. And obviously, as we've talked about this when we were at the Battlefield show, we've talked about this now that we're Trigger Talk. Like, Battlefield is the thing that DICE is going to be doubling down on. EA is focusing on fewer and fewer licensed titles. They just recently killed, I think it's the Black Panther project. Is that right?
Yeah.
So like they've like strategically and consistently have been stepping further away from this, which like I'm perfectly fine with, because I think DICE, everything that Battlefront 2 failed at was because of DICE being DICE, and it was kind of the precursor to what we saw with Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042. Like, it was kind of the precursor to that failure of Battlefield 2042. And I honestly think what Star Wars Battlefront 3 or Star Wars Battlefront 2027, whatever that reboot ends up being called, like, what it needs is something that is not a part of EA, but is kind of like focused on that game. Like, it needs to be that game studio. So I think there's a lot of potential there. I have the controversial opinion that I just do not want DICE to go back, but I would love to see the people that worked on Battlefront to come back to get the band back together, because those are the people that, like, the people that really saved that game aren't DICE. It was like the ghost crew of DICE and DICE LA, that was known at the time. Like, the live service people are really the team that did a lot of the work that people are now appreciating in terms of that consistency and the quality that they really took what was, I mean, Battlefront 2 at launch was a great game, but it was missing a lot of the things and structurally wasn't as sound as it is now.
Yeah.
And they did some things that I think whatever game ends up being made that is like the spiritual successor of what Battlefront 2 was, I think could very easily learn from.
Yeah, and that's, I'm like very torn on what you just said about DICE. I'm sort of in the middle where I agree with you logically, and then there's the other side of my brain that's like, nah, like I want them to finish the trilogy sort of thing. But it all would depend on this next...
I'm like, let it die, kill it if you have to.
It all depends for me on this next Battlefield, ironically. Because the way that they're cooking over there, it looks, we're all kind of like, okay, this actually looks like we're going back to the good days of Battlefield. And obviously we need to play it and see how that actually pans out. But from what we've seen, and especially I think this time around, because it's actual gameplay, we're seeing like so much leaked gameplay. So it's not just trailers. This isn't even their marketing. Like, we're watching raw gameplay and we're all like, oh, this actually looks decent. If that can happen with Battlefield, then I'm kind of like, okay, imagine a full strength DICE who've just turned Battlefield around doing the same with Battlefront and giving us a third game. That side of it is like enticing to me, but again, the logical side of my brain thinks even if that happens, they don't have the manpower unless they legit like
and they're still part of EA,
unless
which
they
is the real problematic piece here.
Unless they decided that like this next Battlefield is a long-term game, but it's not like we're not doing another one 3 years later. Like, this is it. I've sort of said it on this podcast that I want them to call it Battlefield, no number, no title, just call it Battlefield and support it for like 10 years. And if they were to do that and it's in a really good spot, then I'm kind of like, okay, maybe they actually could handle a Battlefront, because then you can pass that on to the live service team, and that team who built the game can then go make a Battlefront. That's the only way I see that happening. But again, I logically just don't think that'll happen. My dream situation, to be completely honest, is, and I don't really understand if logistically and all that this will make sense, but I think Lucasfilm Games don't do enough, and I think they should say, all right, there needs to be a Battlefront game. We can see the numbers. We can see that then it's just the same as there always needs to be a Call of Duty out. Like, that's just always happened. And it's actually, say what you will about COD, it's like fairly, I feel like those sort of games are fairly crucial to the whole industry, that there just kind of always needs to be a X game out, right? There needs to always be a Battlefront, in my opinion. It's been around, it's like that name, Star Wars Battlefront, to me carries as much weight as like Halo and stuff. So Lucasfilm Games should be thinking, all right, there needs to always be a Battlefront. We are going to actually create the studio to make that, and they go and cherry pick people from, whatever companies, get all the old DICE devs back and stuff like that, and actually make a studio called, I don't know, just literally call it the Battlefront studio or whatever, just the same way there's like the Pokemon company.
Battlefront Limited.
Yeah. And just like they need to sort it out rather than hoping that someone comes and pitches the idea to them or hoping that EA does it. I think Lucasfilm Games needs to actually step up. They're just like consultants. They don't actually really, they built that whole
that's
thing.
Like
and
going back to this idea of LucasArts. Like,
yeah. Like they used to do stuff. They made the games and everything, but like Lucasfilm Games, when that was announced a few years ago, I remember we were all like, "Oh man, like is this LucasArts back or what's going on?" But they're not that. They just help. Which don't get me wrong, they seemingly do a decent job because we've had some pretty good games over the last year, like couple of years. But I want them to like be the ones pitching it and going around. Even if they don't make the studio, I would then also think they should go around to. They should go to an Embark Studios and say, like, we are lobbying for a Battlefront 3. Can you make this game? What can we do to help facilitate making that game? Is that something you can do?
Yeah.
If you can't,
instead of waiting
fine.
for a studio to pitch it, like being more proactive and like, here's the, like, clearly they've found value in like online shooters because they continue to do Fortnite collaborations and they continue to do like these individual things that are very successful. And now look, Battlefront 2, 8 years after it came out, is doing incredibly well. A lot of these people are new players. A lot of them are returning players. Like there is an audience that wants something along these lines. And I think that there is an opportunity for them to take advantage of that and like embrace it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I think like them being proactive about it is the way that it should be done. Because I also think there might be studios who would love to do that, but they don't maybe have the confidence. They don't think like, it might get knocked back if we pitch an idea to Lucasfilm Games. If Lucasfilm Games came to Embark Studios or name your studio that you want and said like, we want you guys to make Battlefront, is that possible? Then I think Embark, even though I know that they've got their hands full at the moment anyway, then it like plants the seed that maybe they go, well, like right now we can't, but maybe a year after Arc Raiders has launched, maybe we will have the facilities to actually do that. We'll be able to hire more people and stuff like that. That plants the seed. And so right now, I think it's impossible that someone like Embark could handle a Battlefront if they had to go and like essentially conceptualize it all and go and pitch that to Lucasfilm. I just think there's a 0% chance that happens. But if Lucasfilm goes to them and just asks, not even, obviously they could just say, no, we can't do that, and then go to the next studio. But I really think if Lucasfilm went to most studios out there and said, like, we're reversing the roles here, instead of you coming to us, we want you to make this game, can you do it? I think that would really change things up. And then obviously Embark or whoever did it would know, all right, we've got the support of Lucasfilm and Disney. So, I just think that's, for me, that's the most sustainable way to do it. I just think that Lucasfilm Games need to be the ones to kind of kickstart this, because I do feel like EA won't do it because we know their sort of stance on the licensed content. I reckon we're getting that Iron Man game, which I wouldn't be surprised if that gets cancelled, and then we're getting Jedi 3. And I only think that doesn't get cancelled because it's the third one and it's been successful. But I think that's the last...
Incredibly successful.
Yeah, I think that's the last licensed content we get. I think that's the last EA Star Wars game. So I don't think they're doing it. And then realistically, who else is going to be out there thinking, all right, let's go and pitch a Battlefront 3 or a reboot to Lucasfilm? Because they're going to go, well, EA can't handle it. EA is massive, so damn, we probably can't do it. I guess if they can't manage it, then we can't either. But with someone coming and pitching it to them, saying, we will help you, what can we do to help you out in doing this, that changes the game completely to me. And I just think I don't care who does it, what company does it. I don't care. I think it is genuinely stupid that someone isn't making Battlefront right now. Like, it's look at the numbers, you look at the sales of the first two games, even with huge controversy in both. Even people forget Battlefront 2015 had controversy around like the I guess premium, you had to buy the DLC packs, and there was just not so much. That wasn't as big, obviously, as Battlefront 2, but there was still drama.
The main controversy of Battlefront 2015 was the lack of classes.
Yeah, and even like the one era as well. People were like, "Oh, this is why we."
People were pissed that it was original trilogy.
So like, there's always been drama. There's always been like, it's been a critical franchise. People have been like, there's so much wrong with it, and it's still sold like 30+ million copies. Like, it's crazy number. Like, there's not many games out there that sell those numbers. You look at, people talked about Hogwarts Legacy when that launched. It sold, I think, 20, maybe 25 million copies, which is crazy, by the way. Battlefront did that in its sleep with the launch drama. It sold 17 million copies. Like, that's crazy. That is absurd when you look at how negatively reviewed that game was. And it's not quite the same. 17 compared to 25 isn't quite the same, but it nearly sold the same amount as Hogwarts Legacy, which has like been one of the biggest success stories in 5+ years. And Battlefront did that despite negative reviews. Like, so imagine they launched one that's really, really good. Like, it could just blow all of those records out of the water. It's so dumb to me that someone isn't making a third one or a reboot of it.
And like on that size number, before the Celebration Edition dropped, and then like the game was free on the Epic Game Store, 33 million copies were sold over the Battlefront franchise. So Battlefront 2015 and Battlefront 2, 33 million. That is a lot. For reference, Battlefield 1, which was like one of the most successful Battlefield games, was like what? I'm trying to find it now. 15 million is the estimate.
I think something around that, yeah. Like that's not a small amount of number like for this franchise. So even if they do have to pay a licensing fee, which they do, I would assume because of the extra sales, like it would be pretty comparable. Yeah. I remember working out back just after that the Epic Games like free situation.
Oh yeah.
I think I worked out across all of the actual sales numbers. I remember sitting there like crunching numbers for ages. And I can't, obviously right now I don't have all the sources that I had, like the links and everything. But I remember working it out that there had been across both of the Battlefront games, and including free players, so this isn't counting like sales, it's just the amount of people that would have played it. It was like somewhere between 60 and 70 million players had played Battlefront in the last, at that point insane. It was 2020-ish. So, or was that 2021 or 2020? I can't remember when it went free.
I think it was 2020.
Yeah.
It was either, I think it was January or like it was early 2020, because in the like April or May is when they canceled support, and it was very soon after the Celebration Edition came out.
Yeah. So say in 2020, it had been 5 years since the launch of the first game. So in 5 years, it had had 60 million people playing it, essentially. Again, that's not a confirmed number. That's just what I had worked out at the time based on the confirmed sales numbers, and then added that 19 million plays in and stuff like that. There was also like free weekends and stuff like that, but that's a crazy number, man. And I understand their whole thing with the licensing fee. I do actually. I'm one of those people who actually agrees, well, not agrees, but I understand their decision that like. I see why they would work on Battlefield over Battlefront, because it's just the safer play. It's they own it. I understand. There's so many people who don't seem to get that, where it's like people go, oh, but Battlefront's so much bigger and everything. I get it, but the licensing fee and also the risk of the name Star Wars, like there's just so much extra criticism and everything. I do get that, but I also don't get it, because if the licensing fee is what we hear, that's about 30%, you're still making 70% of that money. And like, if you're selling that many copies that they do, which we've seen now, like it wasn't just the first game was a bit of luck. The second game despite all of that drama, still sold all those numbers. And now we're seeing this resurgence. There's no way that a Battlefront 3 doesn't sell 15 million copies. There's 0% chance that it has, unless it's like the most broken game ever and the trailers look bad and everything. But if they market it properly and it's like 7 out of 10, it's selling 15 million copies. So on that amount of copies you've sold, yes, you've got to give 30% back to Disney, but the other 70%, you're still getting that. And it's like, that 70%, you either get it or you're getting nothing. That's the part I don't understand. Like,
yeah.
Like I understand you have to give a portion of it, but you either give 30% and still make a lot of money, or you give 0%, but you make 0%. So, like, I don't understand the decision of just straight up not doing it. I definitely understand the decision of like prioritizing a Battlefield or prioritizing all of their own franchises first. But like the whole licensing thing to me doesn't make a lot of sense with a game this popular. I'd think if it's a smaller, more of a niche game that you don't know if it will succeed, say a Star Wars Squadrons or even Zero Company, which they're not developing, but they are publishing it. Those games, I understand that because I'm like, well, okay, let's just say Zero Company comes out, and I personally am really keen for that, but let's just say it flops because it is a very niche type of game. That I understand because they might put heaps of money into that and it might barely make any sales, and then they've probably lost money. So that I understand. But Battlefront is proven, like it is inevitable. It will sell 15 million copies minimum. If it's done properly, it's selling way more than that. On top of that, if you actually monetize it properly this time, you're in the billions. Like you will make billions of dollars. And so yes, if you make $1 billion, you got to give 300 million to Disney. That sucks, but you've still made $700 million. Like that's the part I don't get. So I do get both sides of it, but for me, it's like it's more of an understanding of. I understand why they prioritize Battlefield. I don't understand why they straight refuse to do the licensed content when it's a guarantee. I think the risky ones, that makes sense. I think Black Panther, for example, there's a chance that wouldn't have sold well and just that could make a loss for them. I understand that. But Battlefront, that name carries to me as much weight as not so much Call of Duty, but it carries far more weight to me than Battlefield. And you know me, I'm a huge Battlefield fan. It carries about the same amount of weight as like Halo, even though I guess Halo's had its dips and ups and downs and that. But the name Star Wars Battlefront is like a household name. Like that is in the gaming industry, that is like such a huge franchise.
Our new Superman grew up playing the game.
Like
David Cornsweet.
Freaking Kyrie Irving has been streaming it. That guy's an NBA champion. Like it's that the name is so popular. Even just the name, you don't have to put a trailer out. If you launched Battlefront 3 tomorrow with zero marketing and no trailer and just said it's out and you just had the cover on the store, that game's selling 10 million copies. Everyone knows what Battlefront is. So that's the part of it that I don't get, where I'm like, yeah, I understand the licensing fees and the added risk of that, and I do get it, but like you're still making, as the example just before, you're still making $700 million. Like that's, to me, that's still worth it. So yeah. I don't know, man. It's a very strange situation, but yeah.
All right, question for you. Like, what do you think this says about the FPS industry? Because I think it's quite interesting that we've seen so few of these examples of an FPS game kind of like resurging at this level. Like this is somewhat unprecedented for an FPS game, but like, do you think it's just because we don't have anything? Do you think people are like craving a more traditional, like what are you seeing with this kind of rise?
I think like, I do think a part of it is the state of the genre. I do think, I've said it for years now, I think that FPS is pretty stale. And it has been for a while. I think it almost rebuilt itself a bit with the whole BR genre, but even that now is a little bit stale again. That's not to say there aren't good shooters out there, and even the Call of Duties of the world and stuff. Like I don't love Black Ops 6, but the gameplay is really good. Like, it plays well. There's not like a bad game. It's just that it's stale. That's my only issue. It's just been done to death. It's probably the most, if I had to guess, the most done genre, surely. Like, the most games that come out that are big are shooters. Like, it's so popular.
Yeah.
Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, back in the day, Team Fortress, games like that, Halo. There's just so many big shooters out there that I think people are maybe a little bit fatigued, that there's nothing new and exciting. So I think that's part of it. I think just people want a shooter. Because I think if there was just like a crazy popular shooter right now that was blowing up, this whole Battlefront thing wouldn't have, at least not this big, it wouldn't have happened. It would have probably still happened, but it just wouldn't be, the numbers wouldn't be quite as big. So I think that's part of it. But I also just think, specifically Star Wars fans, like, we just want a shooter. Like, I think that is the main reason behind this. I think it's right after Battlefront was cancelled, we all wanted Battlefront 3, and I don't think that's gone anywhere. I do believe that outside of GTA 6, I think Battlefront 3 is the most anticipated game ever. Like, I really do believe that there's not another game out there that is more wanted. It's more wanted than a Titanfall 3. It's more wanted than any other game I can think of. Maybe Elder Scrolls 6. That's probably the exception. But we also know that like, that has been technically announced, even though I don't even know if they've started working on it. But
it's been longer since that game was freaking announced.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Freaking
That's a strange...
Skyrim was as old when it was announced. Like, the announcement's older than freaking Skyrim was at the time.
That is the most absurd stat ever. Like, this just breaks my mind. But like, the thing with that is we know that's coming, but it's also not in development enough that we're excited about it. So I do actually think Battlefront is more wanted than that. GTA is the only one where it's like, that is obviously the most wanted game ever. So, yeah, I think that's just the main reason, man. It's just such a huge franchise. It ended, like, they finally got it good and then it ended. So I think that's part of it too, is that we were like, yes, we finally got where we need to be. Or, it still had some improvement to make. But
if Battlefront 2 was just not good,
yeah, this wouldn't be happening.
And like, there was nostalgia for it, this wouldn't have gotten to this point.
For sure. Because Battlefront 2015 was fun. I really liked that game. This isn't happening for that game.
I love that game.
Yeah. It's like, I just think that it was just the perfect storm, or not it's like the worst storm. It's the opposite of the perfect storm. That they launched it in such a bad state, and we were also kind of like let down by it and just the whole journey of that game, where it finally it just worked its way back, and we were all there for the journey, and it was just a great time. And then it finally got like to a spot where we were kind of like, all right, this is now actually really good. Let's keep building. Like, where's my Mando skins? Put Mando in the game. Put like Ahsoka. Where's all these characters? And we didn't get that, and they took it away from us right at the end there. I think that's part of it too, is that we were on the cusp of having everything we wanted, and then it got stripped away from us. So I think that's part of it too, is that not only is the franchise huge and loved, but it was almost like we were about to peak, and then it just they were like, all right, we're done. So yeah, I think there's a lot as to why this is happening, but I think that's the main thing, is that people are just desperate, man. I think people are playing this for multiple reasons. One, it's fun to go back and play it. But two, I do think a lot of people are like, the more I play this, the more likely we get a new one, because these player numbers are crazy. Like, for me, I'm mostly playing it. I've got enough footage to make videos for the rest of my life. I don't need to play the game. But I'm like, I want to play it because that's an extra player. That these people, people are seeing the numbers, whether we believe it or not. They are seeing these numbers. The more we inflate the numbers, the better our chances are. So I do think people are also thinking that, where it's like, we actually have a say here to an extent. I think that's part of it too, that this is how we make our voice heard, because we've tried it all over. We've been tweeting about it for years. Everyone just, where's Battlefront 3? They don't seem to listen. So now it's like, all right, this is our new avenue to getting them to listen, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we can make an impact that also like sends a wave monetarily, which is something that EA loves.
Yeah, that's the
And
frustrating part for me,
also
is that
think
they are
that
making
Disney
money from
would
this.
notice it.
Yeah, it goes both ways, because it's like I don't love that EA is now just cashing in on all of this, but I also do know that that's how the industry works, and so the money coming in is hopefully enough that they go, oh, hang on, like, okay, we're making money on this game, and it's so old. What if we made a new one? So it goes both ways, but there's the part of me that's like, EA don't deserve this money. Like, this game should be free to play, in my opinion. They should make it free to play, because EA, which they're obviously not going to do, but EA, in my opinion, do not deserve the money they're getting for this, because they kind of caused the issues around it, and the reason we're all coming back and loving it isn't because, oh, EA, you're the best, we love you. It's because the game was good and the developers who worked on it did a great job. It's almost nothing to do with EA, in my opinion. Like, they handled the monetization of it, which butchered the game, and then eventually led to it being cancelled because there was no way to monetize it. So, if anything, EA ruined it, not revived it. I actually think it's the team who worked on it revived it, and they worked for a company owned by EA, but yeah, I give zero thanks to EA for Battlefront coming back. Like, do not care about their opinion of the game.
If we could support this without benefiting EA, we all would choose to do so.
That's my thing. Until they if they were to make Battlefront 3, then I'll be like, okay, if you make it good, obviously, I'm happy to support you in doing that. I will pay for skins. I will do that stuff. If you deliver me a good product, I don't care about giving you money. I'll pay whatever however much the skins are and stuff. If the game's good, happy to do that. But for now, it feels wrong that the game's being successful when, it just feels a bit like dirty. It's like, oh, how are they benefiting from this and they're not going to make us a new one? So we're getting our hopes up and they're just making money and nothing's going to come of it. That's my sort of issue with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To kind of close out this conversation as well, like, I think it's an interesting direction for gaming to have, like, Fortnite's been around, like, when Fortnite came out, 2014, at least, like, the main game.
Yeah, I think so.
So we have something that's been around for quite a bit of time that has been through like a continuous rise. And then we have Battlefront that had a big impact, big splash with Battlefront 2015. They doubled down and, like, made something that was a little shaky in terms of, like, some of the mechanics, and like mechanics being like the loot box controversy and all of that jazz. And then you have this kind of, like, continued dedication from the developers on, like, really fixing the problems that they had. They for, like, was it the first 6 to 8 months they spent just fixing the game and, like, bringing a quality content. We had, like, the Geonosis update and, like, that big impact. We had, like, these big key moments, and then all of a sudden, when it seemed like there's nowhere else but up, like, they kind of killed it off. And now we're seeing this resurgence, and we're seeing a level of appreciation here that I think is really awesome to see, and really, like, heartwarming to see kind of, like, the developers' work really being appreciated like it has been. But I do find it so interesting that a game that came out like freaking 8 years ago is so big. It's awesome to see, but I do think it's a very different, like, 2025 FPS is so different from 2017 FPS, and I think this just showcases that a lot of people want this return to what Battlefront 2 is, like, at its core, and I think that the market's showcasing that.
Yeah, it's weird because the game initially was set up so fundamentally around monetization, but the game now, ironically, isn't, and I think that's a part of why it's loved now as well, is that modern shooters are very much how can we make money off of you, whereas Battlefront 2 isn't that now. It obviously was at launch, but it's so fundamentally different than what it was. It's actually fun to go back to a game where I'm not being spammed with freaking Battle Pass notifications and stuff. I have all the cool skins I want. I load into a game and I shoot droids, and it's fun. It's just fun to go back to it. It's almost like we're stepping back into that previous era, which is, yeah, I think that's also part of it, that shooters these days are they're designed around how to get money, which I don't have an
first
issue
and
with
foremost.
Yeah, that I have an issue with that part of it. When it's like, when you're making the game to milk us for money, that I have an issue. My opinion has always been, just make a really good, fun game and absolutely put your microtransactions in there and skins and all that, battle passes. I'm happy to pay for that stuff. That's where I don't care about them making money, because it is a business, and I get that. And also, you've seen my setup, Sage. Like, I'm a collector. I love buying cool shit. So I'm also one of those people where, yeah, if I can buy a skin in a game, it's not just to support the game. I want the cool thing. Like, that's just how I am. But I do disagree with it when the game is designed to make as much money per minute as possible and not as much fun as possible. That's where I have an issue, because I think the fun always has to come first. I think personally that's why this shooter genre is so stale, because the games are a bit soulless now. They're not made for fun. They're made to make money off of us in the most efficient way
And they're made
possible.
for like the most common denominator. Like they are made specifically to reach the broadest amount of people and optimize to hell for just what are all of the tiny ways that we can make people spend money.
Even the little things like kicking us back to the menus after each game because of the logic of, like, the more time you're in the menu, like at the home screen, the more chance you're going to get a skin, because there's going to be an ad for a skin on the home screen, whereas if you're in a match, you're not getting advertised that. That's the stuff that really annoys me, where it's like, just let me play. I'm trying to have fun here, man. Just let me, I bought your game, I gave you money, let me stay in the freaking match. And when I want to quit, I'll quit. And I'll still buy it. That's the part I don't get, is like, these increases they're making, that kicking us back to the menu, that might surely increase the sales by like 1%, 2%. Is that worth killing my enjoyment? I don't think it is. Because I'm going to go buy the skin anyway. If I see a cool skin, and especially if I'm in a match and the enemy I just killed has a sick skin, I'm going to be like, whoa, I haven't seen that. When I finish this session, I'm going to go back to the menu and check the store. I'll do it on my own accord. That makes it more enjoyable. Yeah. When I'm kicked out and then there's a freaking banner on the home screen that's like 40% of the freaking my monitor saying, buy this skin and its cool attachments for $487, that annoys me. I don't want to. I'm not playing advertisement simulator. I'm trying to play a shooter and have fun. So that, to me, is, I think, why the shooter genre is where it is. And I think that's part of what is fun about Battlefront, is that you just load the game. There's the first tile on the screen says quick play. So you just open the game, you can press one button and you're in a match of whatever random game mode. And you're just having fun, and you don't get kicked back to the menu. You just stay in that lobby. It's just fun. I think that's why people are enjoying it, because ironically, the game that was initially designed to milk human beings for money is ironically not that anymore. It's like the complete opposite, because they were so scared of it and they tried to save face so much that they actually ironically made a great product that is just people love it. People just jump in and have fun. That's what games should be. So I think that's part of it too. Like you said about the difference between games now versus games in 2017. I think that's part of it, that it's fun to go back and just not be spammed with buy this skin.
You can play Hello Kitty in Battlefront 2 right now if you give us $50.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Have you ever thought about playing Sabrina Carpenter or someone from King of the Hill in
Dude,
Star
I was trying
Wars?
to play
Well, you
Fortnite
could.
with the Star Wars content, and like, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. I actually was surprised about how fun the game was. But running around as freaking like Mando and just seeing Sabrina Carpenter, I'm like, what the hell? What is this game? Like, what is going on? Sabrina Carpenter's dancing in front of me while I'm trying to freaking pick up a loot. It's like, come on.
This is what the internet was made for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think it's quite fascinating to see what this is going to do, if anything comes out from it. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or contact uplinkpodcast.com. Let us know how's your return to Battlefront 2 been. I hopped on with a friend of mine that actually met through the podcast, one of my best friends, and it felt like such a throwback. It was a great time. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. Love to hear from you. Check out SammyBoii's YouTube content across all of his various channels. He's got some great stuff up there. If you're into Star Wars, check out Star Wars Uplink. And as always, we'll see you later, video gamers.